So actually, we as a consumer, we don't
Are you
really know
aware of
about
the
it.
average use per unit?
All of you are kings and queens in your own home with your own throne that you can sit up and decide and let the business continue to woo you.
Welcome to another episode of Consumer Voice, the platform of the CPC that tells you all about your rights as a consumer and what to do whenever you feel those rights have been breached. Water is important in sustaining life. However, the provision of safe drinking water is a challenge all over the world due to the presence of chemical contaminants that could arise from water treatment and cleaning of equipment, packaging materials, source of water, supply, etc. This could lead to organ disease in consumers. So today on the program, I'd have with me two experts from the Consumer Protection Council. You can expect to know the following: your sources of good water, regulatory requirements for packaged water, your responsibility as vendors or consumers. But first, we'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll go straight to our discussion segments. Stay with us. Welcome back. Today I have with me in the studio Mrs. Adenike Onasaya, a scientific officer here at the CPC. Welcome to the program, ma'am.
Thank you.
Also with me is Mrs. Kemi Oladipo, senior lab technologist, also with the CPC. Welcome to the program, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let me start with you, Mrs. Oladipo. When we talk about packaged water, my mind goes to sachet water. And I'm talking about the pure water we see on the streets. Am I correct?
You are correct, but packaged water is water processed and packaged, and then the packaging be in the sachet, like you mentioned, and the bottle and the plastic bottle.
Okay. So any water that's gone through
yes,
a production process.
yes.
Okay. Thank
And
you very
packaged.
much. Okay. Thank you very much, Mrs. Onasaya. With the advent of packaged water in Nigeria, what should a consumer be concerned about when they make these purchases?
The consumer should be concerned about the source of water, and they should be concerned with purchasing water that has been registered and properly labeled.
So back to you, Mrs. Oladipo. Let's talk about the certification process. There must be some sort of regulatory body that certifies this production. What's the regulatory body, and what sort of things do they look at?
In Nigeria, the certification of water is done by NAFDAC, and there are so many processes for the certification done by NAFDAC. Like in the production of water, the certification will be the source of the water, the labeling requirements, the personnel, the equipment in the laboratory, because laboratory for production of water is different from the production of food. So there are some basic equipment that as a manufacturer you're supposed to have in your laboratory, and the personnel, the competent personnel in terms of certification of your product for quality assurance, and also the depth of the source of your water is supposed to be done by a professional. If it's from a borehole, you need a professional that will help you to certify the ground, because for production of water, if your water is from a contaminated soil, like under the ground, we have minerals deposited there, and we have heavy chemicals like lead, like mercury, and those are heavy chemicals that causes cancer. So you don't produce water from such kind of soil. So when you call experts, they will tell you the depth of your water, and they will tell you the quality of the source of the soil. So if the water there is fit for consumption, you go ahead, and the kind of pipes you use for the production of the water. And I know that they have other things in addition to this, but this is just the few I can mention for the certification.
In addition to what my colleague have just said, the tanks and the pipes must be made of PVC or stainless steel. Then the reservoir that is used to store water should be, that's the one stored under the ground, should be made of concrete and tied.
Obviously, CPC is not involved in certification process. We just make sure that, you know, the manufacturers comply. All right, thank you very much for that. Mrs. Onasaya, talking about labeling, what should we be looking at?
The consumers have right to information, so they need to check that the labels have manufacturer's name and address, so that in case of a problem, you can locate the manufacturer. There should be NAFDAC number, date markings, that's the manufacturer, the manufacturing date and the expiry date, batch number, the volume of the water.
Okay, and this applies to even drinks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In addition to what she just said, like the nutritional content, because some people believe that water is water. Like water, there is a level of iron that is supposed to be in your water, as specified by the standard. So you are supposed to state it. And if, as a consumer, I'm allergic to iron, and when I see it, because those are, like in CPC, we said we have 8 rights of consumer, and one of it is right to information. So as a consumer, I'm supposed to know what I want to buy. So your nutritional value of your water, you state it on your label for the consumer to be aware of the content of what he or she is taking. Okay,
talking about the sources, because you talked about the sources, and Mrs. Onasaya had earlier said, you know, we should be concerned as consumer about the, you know, source of our water, because some people on the roadside are getting water from God knows where, you know, and they're selling this water either in form of sachet water, you know, even bottled water. You know, what should we be looking at when we talk about the source of the water?
The source of water specifically is supposed to be from 2 sources, like from the public source, from the borehole. So, and the one from the borehole, like I said earlier on, that it's been done by professional that will come and certify the source of the water.
Okay.
And then from before the process, then the source of the water from the public source, we all know that it's supposed to be treated.
Okay.
Before you, as a manufacturer, go ahead to do your own processing and packaging.
What do you mean by water from public source? What kind of source is public source?
From water board.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just take a short break. We've been discussing the topic packaged water and safety of consumers, what you need to know. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. We've been discussing packaged water and the safety of consumers. If you're just joining us, you can catch up by following us on all our other platforms. Twitter, Facebook, of course, our contact details are being displayed on your screen. Mrs. Onasaya, something very obvious to everyone these days is we find packaged water with expiry dates. Does water expire?
It does. Water expires. By regulations and Nigerian industrial standard, water expires. So it is as advised that consumer ensure that they look properly at the bottle or the packaging to ensure that there's expiry date and production date.
Okay, Mrs. Oladipo, do you agree with what Mrs. Onasaya has just said?
I agreed with what my colleague just said. Natural water does not expire, but processed water expires due to the following reason: the production process, the storage factor, and the environmental factor. And the environmental factor could be human interference or through the air. Like, let me just give you a simple test. If you fetch water from the tap, that's from the borehole, water from the water board, from the tap, and you keep it for 2-3 days, you will notice that the water becomes